the gut health and brain function. So there is the main connection between the gut and the brain. So we have, it's called the gut-brain axis. We have a bidirectional communication between the central nervous system, which is the brain and the spine, and also the enteric nervous system, which is the network of neurons in the gut lining. That the gut feeling is not a metaphor anymore, okay, but it is a physiological reality. The vagus nerve is the primary neuron between the brain and the gut. It sends real-time data about the state of the digestive system to the brain. We also have the hormonal and the endocrine signals, okay, and it also regulates neurotransmitters and also other hormones that are associated with appetite and mood. Another communication between the two is the immune and inflammatory signals. The gut is I call it the school of immune cells. So there is a huge immune population of immune cells. And when immune tolerance is dysfunctional, then there is immune dysregulation. And then there is a number of inflammatory responses that affect the brain function and also brain health in general. In terms of leaky gut, if there is leaky gut, there is chronic low-grade inflammation, and low-grade inflammation results in a triggering of immune system, immune dysregulation, production and lack of production of specific neurotransmitters. And if there is lack of GABA, serotonin, and all these neurotransmitters, that is associated with depressive states, and that is due to metabolic health disruption. Serotonin is one of the main neurotransmitters that are associated with this axis of gut-brain axis. Serotonin is very well known as the happy hormone as well, all right? And that's because it is associated with various functions of the brain. Also, it's important to note that serotonin is one of the driver of the bowel motility, because, as we said, the enteric nervous system of the bowel is totally autonomous. So serotonin is the top neurotransmitter, I would say, in terms of mechanisms. As I said before as well, the immune dysregulation, we today know that most of immune dysregulation is associated with a mild dysbiosis of the intestines, and that dysbiosis means that there's a discrepancy in the abundance and diversity of the bacteria of the intestines. Percent of the body's serotonin, okay, which of course affects the mood, appetite, and sleep, okay, is produced in the gut. So we know today that emotional state is deeply tied to our digestive health, okay, and that's why gut feeling is not anymore a metaphor. Chronic inflammation of the intestines is a key driver, therefore, not only of immune dysfunction, but also of dysregulation of specific hormonal pathways like the hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis, the HPA axis, and that would increase stress responses. It can result in a constant chronic stress response. Sleep contributes heavily to chronic inflammation through various axes. So it would activate the HPA axis that I mentioned before. It increases pro-inflammatory cytokines. It's also impaired, there's impaired sort of clearance. And one very interesting aspect is actually circadian rhythms. Okay? We do have clock genes actually are activated at specific times, which we call clock genes. And those circadian rhythms are extremely important so that we have the right metabolic function. Our guest speaker is Christina Kakut, a registered health coach and lifestyle medicine advisor, and certified by the Health Coaches Academy in the UK and also the European Lifestyle Medicine Organization. So welcome, Christina.
Thank you. It's an honor to be here with you. So first of all, I'll just explain a bit what a health coach is, because not many people are familiar with it. It's a role which is quite big in the United States and even in the UK now, and it's slowly growing even in Europe. Basically, as a registered health coach, I work with GPs and with consultants and other healthcare professionals so that then I help clients to put into action what the GPs and what the healthcare professionals would have recommended the people to do in order to live a healthier or be healthier or live a healthier lifestyle. One of the most difficult things I think as humans for us to do is to change our habits. Our habits are ingrained and it takes a long time to change a habit, even though we would know that it's for our benefit. So as a health coach, I offer support, I offer accountability, and I share with people the knowledge to help them understand how their body works, so that they get that kick in order to change habits for the better. So that's what I do. I mean, this is quite new. Before we used to think that sleep is just a thing we have to do because we just have to, and we just get it out of the way, and that's it. But research especially over the last 10 years, has been showing us how incredibly important sleep is for our health. So if we sleep very little, that's bound to have an impact on our health, and it's bound to result in chronic diseases and so on. Having said that, I just want to put a caveat here. Let's not panic so much about sleep, because sometimes I get to meet people who are panicking. I don't sleep. I wake up in the middle of the night. It's very normal. We were never meant to sleep like 9 hours straight. When, biologically and evolutionary, when we were still hunter-gatherers, obviously there was always a fire to tend to, a child to go and check on, or a noise of an animal which wakes us up. So let's be a bit more relaxed about sleep, and it's fine if we wake up and then go back to sleep. So that's that's the one thing I wanted to say. But I'm incredibly fascinated by how the gut is linked to our sleep and what we can do, like actions we can take in order to sleep better by taking care of our gut. Please stop me because I get a bit enthusiastic about the gut. In my birthday last year, my daughter made me a card. We're gutted if you don't take care of our gut. So what we eat, actually, so I like to imagine this gut as like this big space full of like a crowd of bacteria, and this bacteria can be either good or bad, and they're fighting for space. So we're basically, the more good bacteria we have, the healthier we'll be, and we have to feed. So whatever we eat is going to feed either the good bacteria or the bad bacteria. And essentially it's very simple. If we eat whole foods, natural foods, vegetables, lots of veg, and just, not packaged food and not sugary food, not refined sugars and so on, basically we'd be feeding the good bacteria. So that is action number one. The more we feed the good bacteria, the more they're going to create chemicals which are essential for us, not just to be in a better mood and to prevent chronic diseases, but also to sleep better. Another thing that really makes a difference is the time that we eat. It makes an impact on our gut. Why? Because ideally we eat 3 hours before we go to bed. It's something which is very basic, and I think our great grandparents used to do this. But somehow along the way we lost it, because nowadays it's like we're 24 hours on, switched on. When we eat 3 hours before going to bed, we're giving our body the time to digest. And that's very important, because when we digest, then we won't have a restless night. What is happening is that sometimes we're just eating at around 10 o'clock, at 11 o'clock, last thing before we sleep. Sometimes people even wake up and eat when they wake up, say at 1 o'clock in the morning. That means that our body is constantly in this perennial mode of digesting, which means our sleep is going to be very restless, and there is the gut is there, the good bacteria in our gut are there waiting for us to stop eating and to stop digesting in order to come in and start cleaning away all the toxins, cleaning away all the stuff that our body doesn't need, so we can have a fresh restart. Unfortunately, when we keep on eating or when we just go to bed straight after we've eaten, that doesn't help our gut at all. It also doesn't help our hormones. We have some hunger hormones, which then what happens is when we eat late, they tend to lose a bit the clock and the plot, and we become hungrier, so we eat more, we make wrong decisions about food, so we tend to eat more unhealthy. So my suggestion would be that roughly we wrap up the food day at around 9 o'clock in the evening. So that would give us time to digest and our body to rest when we're in bed. So that would be my second option. You mentioned the circadian rhythm, Prof. Greg, and I think that is so very important because we have a natural body clock inside us, as you said, a gene clock, and it helps us a lot when we follow the rhythm, when we follow the same consistency throughout the day. Remember, we spent like thousands and thousands of years just living by daylight and nighttime. We used to get up with sunlight and go to bed at dusk, or retreat back in our caves at dusk. So we always follow the rhythm. Nowadays, the lights are switched on all the time, so we're losing that rhythm. Having a rhythm helps us to sleep better, helps our gut to perform better, to create the hormones that we need, to create the chemicals that we need so that we sleep better. I'm really simplifying things here, but in a nutshell, I think the more, especially if we can always wake up at the same time more than anything else, it would really help our body and it would really help us to sleep better at night. We tend to come the weekend, sleep in or stay out late and so on. The more we can be, I mean, obviously we have to live, but if we can be a bit consistent with a leeway of an hour or two at least, our body would thank us. The other thing is what we drink. We have a bacteria in our gut which really loves coffee. And it's good and it's healthy. Coffee is full of polyphenols and so on, but we have to remember that coffee has caffeine, and caffeine, 1/4 of caffeine stays in our body for at least 12 hours, which means that if you take a coffee at noon, you're going to still have that caffeine inside you at around midnight, which disrupts deep sleep. So I meet quite a few people who tell me, but I still manage to sleep if I take a cup of coffee before I sleep. Of course you'll sleep, but it's not the deep restorative deep sleep that we really need for our body to cleanse. Basically, when we have deep restorative sleep, it's like our body gets this power wash and really cleanses our brain, which helps us to get rid of the stuff that we don't want. So what we eat and what we drink and the time we eat and drink is really crucial for our gut health.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, well, very interesting. And yeah, well, then I have to minimize all my coffee intake in the evenings, apparently. That's my only issue that I have personally. Otherwise, I make sure to have a good sleep because otherwise it's but well, that's my takeaway message. I'm not sure if I will manage because, as you said, it's very difficult
Very
to
difficult to change a behavior. So when
change a
changing a
habit.
behavior, yes,
Yeah.
the idea is that we replace it. We don't eliminate it. So you need to find a replacement for your coffee in the
Okay.
evening and
All
see.
right. All right.
Could be decaf coffee. It could be chamomile. It could be a minty.
Well, then I moved to a almond milk with dark chocolate, hot chocolate, because that's a good tryptophan shot, which is also
Yes,
important for sleep. Yeah. So
yes, excellent.
we go for alternatives that are tasty, and but at the same time also because sleep requires tryptophan, because it requires serotonin. So a very interesting aspect of serotonin is its conversion to melatonin, which happens when we are in really dark, total darkness. Okay, when we switch off our light receptors in the eye, serotonin starts being converted into melatonin. So that's quite an interesting aspect. So okay, I will take that advice. I will try not to have coffee in the evening, move on to almond milk with some dark chocolate, have a tryptophan shot, and I should sleep much better.
Absolutely. You should your deep sleep. You should have more deep sleep.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yes. So thank you very much for these tips. We will be providing tips every month from different guests, of course. I would like to thank everyone. You can reach me on LinkedIn. You can also reach Christina
On
on LinkedIn.
LinkedIn or on Instagram at Orange and Juice.